The colder they act, the less you react. That's how you win. You feel it, don't you? The shift, the sudden distance, the way they stop replying as quickly, stop putting in effort, and stop showing up the way they used to. At first, you wonder if you did something wrong. You overthink, analyze, and try to figure out where it all went wrong. But my friends, let me tell you something. This isn't about you. This is a game, and the second you start playing, you lose. Before we go deeper, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what I'm about to share is going to change the way you handle people forever. Hey folks, imagine this. You're at a restaurant, and every time you show up, you tip generously. Every single time, the waiter barely acknowledges it, hardly thanks you because, in their mind, you're just that person who always tips well. Then one day, you stop tipping, and suddenly, they notice. Now they care. Now they wonder what changed. See, people don't notice consistency. They notice when it's gone. That's exactly what happens when you stop giving your time, attention, and energy to someone who has started acting cold. Let's be real. People pull away to see if you'll chase. They start acting distant, thinking you'll try harder, that you'll overcompensate, that you'll get desperate and start proving your worth. But here's the truth, my friends. You don't prove your worth to someone who's playing games. You let them feel your absence. They think they have power over you because they control how much they give. But what they don't realize is that you don't need what they're offering. The moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you just let them be cold, that's when the game flips. Now they start feeling what they expected you to feel. And I know what you're thinking. What if they don't care? What if they never notice? My friends, let me tell you something. People always notice. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually the silence will get to them. They will wonder why you didn't run after them, and that question, that doubt, will haunt them more than anything. Think of it like this. Imagine you're holding a rope in a tug-of-war. They pull away expecting you to hold on tighter, but instead of pulling, instead of proving, you just let go. Suddenly, they're the ones off balance. They're the ones feeling the loss. That's the secret. You don't fight for a place in someone's life. You step back and see if they notice you're gone. If they don't, then congratulations. You just learned who was never meant to stay. But here's the best part. While they're out there playing games, you're out here growing. You're leveling up, focusing on yourself, moving in silence while they're stuck wondering what happened. And trust me, there's nothing more powerful than someone who doesn't react. So, my friends, let's make it clear. No chasing, no begging, no proving, just silence and self-respect. Say it with me. I am in control of my emotions. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done playing their games. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to ensure they never stop thinking about what they lost. Number 1, coldness is a test, not a loss. People pull away to see if you'll chase. The real power is in doing nothing. They go quiet. They start replying late with half-hearted answers, giving you just enough to keep you wondering but never enough to feel secure. They stop putting in effort, stop showing up the way they used to, and you feel it. That sinking feeling, that question creeping into your mind. Did I do something wrong? You start overthinking. You go through old conversations looking for clues, wondering if you missed a sign, if you could have done something differently. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe if you reach out first, if you make more effort, they'll snap out of it. But let me tell you something, my friends. This isn't an accident. This isn't miscommunication. This is a test, and the way you respond determines everything. So folks, imagine this. You're in a room with a mirror. You smile, it smiles back. You frown, it frowns. But the second you walk away, it reflects nothing. That's exactly how you need to be, a mirror. If someone gives warmth, reflect it back. If they give distance, reflect that too. But if they pull away, don't go chasing after the reflection. Here's the truth. People pull away to see if you'll hold on tighter. They start acting cold, not because they don't care, but because they want to see if you'll prove that you do. It's a game, a power move, a way to make you feel insecure so that they feel wanted. And most people fall for it. They text first, they apologize for things they didn't even do, they put in more effort thinking that if they just show how much they care, the other person will come back. But that's the trap, my friends. The moment you chase, the moment you start proving, you fail the test. You show them that their absence holds power over you. I know what you're thinking. What if I lose them? What if they really don't care? Let me tell you something. If someone truly values you, they won't make you question where you stand. Read that again. If they care, they won't put you in a position where you have to wonder if they do. People who respect you don't test your loyalty by seeing how desperate you'll get. But right now, your mind is stuck in fear. Fear of losing them. Fear that if you don't do something, they'll slip away. Fear that your silence will push them further. But here's the truth. The only thing silence pushes away is people who were never going to stay. Think of it like this. Imagine you're holding sand in your hand. If you grip it tightly, trying to keep every grain, it slips through your fingers. But if you open your hand and let it be, it stays. Love, attention, respect, it works the same way. The more you force it, the more it runs away. I get it. Walking away, doing nothing, resisting the urge to reach out is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Everything in you is screaming, what if they're waiting for me to fix this? What if they think I don't care? But let me ask you this. When they started acting cold, did they think about how it made you feel? Did they stop to consider how their silence affected you? No, they didn't. They just expected you to deal with it. And that's where they messed up. Because while they're out there thinking they have control, assuming you'll be the one to fold, you're doing the unexpected. You're stepping back. You're not chasing. You're letting them sit in the very same silence they gave you. And let me tell you, my friends, nothing haunts a person more than realizing their absence didn't break you. Nothing messes with the mind more than seeing someone who was once available suddenly become untouchable. At first, they'll act like they don't care. They'll stay silent, thinking you'll cave first. But the longer they go without you, the louder the questions in their mind will become. Did I go too far? Did I push them away? Why haven't they reached out? Because here's what they never saw coming. You weren't playing their game. You weren't waiting by your phone. You weren't losing sleep over their indifference. You were too busy focusing on yourself. And this, my friends, is where the shift happens. They thought their coldness would make you chase, but instead, your silence makes them question everything. They start checking their phone, rereading old messages, wondering if they made a mistake. And when they finally reach out, it's not because they care, it's because they can't handle the fact that you don't. This is the power of emotional control. This is what happens when you stop reacting, stop proving, stop falling into the trap. So the next time someone starts acting cold, don't take it as a loss. Take it as a test, and instead of scrambling to prove your worth, stand firm in it. Because, let me tell you something, my friends, the strongest move you can make is to do nothing. The loudest statement you can make is silence, and by the time they realize what they lost, you'll be too far ahead to care. Now say it with me. I refuse to chase. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done proving, done overthinking, done fighting for people who don't fight for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to ensure they never stop thinking about what they lost. Number 2, the power of unshakable indifference. Indifference isn't about not caring, it's about not showing them that you do. They expect a reaction. They expect you to get upset, to reach out, to ask what's wrong, to seek validation, to fight for a place in their life, to prove that you care even when they don't. But the second you don't, that's when the real panic sets in. See, people aren't used to indifference. They're used to power struggles, games, back and forths where one person pulls away and the other chases. They do it because they want to feel wanted. They want to feel in control. But the moment you stop reacting, the moment you don't give them what they were expecting, that's when the game collapses. So folks, imagine this. There's a fire burning, a small flame flickering, waiting for air to grow. If you blow on it, it roars to life. If you feed it, it spreads. But if you just sit there and do nothing, if you refuse to give it oxygen, it dies. That's exactly how indifference works. Their coldness is the spark, the drama, the reaction, the chasing. That's the oxygen. And the second you stop feeding the fire, it suffocates. Here's the truth. Indifference is power. The less you react, the more they notice. The less you seek, the more they wonder. The more you hold back, the more their mind starts spinning, trying to figure out why you're not responding the way they expected. And I know what you're thinking. But if I don't show them I care, won't they just move on? No, my friends, that's the lie you've been told. See, people don't move on from those who beg for their attention. They move on from those who make them feel unimportant. And nothing makes a person question their worth in your life more than indifference. It drives them insane because suddenly they don't know where they stand. They don't know if they still matter to you. They don't know if they miscalculated. And that uncertainty, that's what will eat away at them. Think about it. When was the last time you worried about someone who was desperate for your attention? Probably never. But when was the last time you caught yourself thinking about someone who just disappeared, who just stopped caring, who just let you go without a fight? That's the difference. Because when you argue, when you beg, when you try to make them see your worth, you make it easy for them. They don't have to wonder about you because they already know they have you. But when you go silent, when you stop reacting, when you show them that their distance means nothing to you, that's when they start to struggle. They check their phone more often. They wonder why you haven't reached out. They scroll through old conversations trying to see where things changed. And the longer you stay indifferent, the more it eats at them. Let's be real. This isn't easy. Everything in you wants to prove that you care, that you're not cold-hearted, that you're a good person. But let me ask you this. When they acted cold toward you, did they stop to explain themselves? Did they lose sleep wondering if you felt okay? No, they just expected you to deal with it. So now it's their turn. And this, my friends, is how you take your power back. Not by playing games, not by pretending, but by realizing that indifference is the loudest statement you can ever make. Because when they finally realize what's happening, when they finally feel what you felt, they'll try to test you. They'll throw little breadcrumbs, random texts, meaningless interactions, just to see if you'll bite, just to see if they still have control. But you don't bite. You don't give them the validation they thought they had in their back pocket. You don't react. You don't chase. And that's what breaks them. Because by the time they figure out what they lost, you'll be too far ahead to care. Now say it with me. I am unshaken. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done reacting, done proving, done chasing. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to ensure they never stop thinking about what they lost. Number 3. Distance creates desire. People don't value what's always there. They value what they think they can't have. They knew you'd always be there. They knew they could call, text, or show up whenever it was convenient for them, and you'd be right there waiting, ready and available. You were easy to reach, easy to predict, easy to take for granted, and that's exactly what they did. But now things are different because you've stepped back. You've removed yourself from their world, and for the first time, they're feeling what life is like without you. So folks, imagine this. You walk past a painting in a museum, displayed behind glass, roped off so no one can touch it. You stand there admiring it because it's rare, it's protected, it's valuable. But imagine that same painting lying on the sidewalk, collecting dust, stepped over by strangers. Would you stop to look at it? Would you even care? Probably not. That's exactly how human nature works. We don't appreciate what's always available. We crave what feels just out of reach. And that's why your distance isn't just a reaction, it's a lesson. Because here's the truth. The more accessible you are, the less they respect you. When you're always there, always responding, always showing up, people assume they have you forever. But the second you pull away, the second you stop responding, stop initiating, stop being so easy to reach, that's when their perception shifts. And I know what you're thinking. What if they don't notice? What if they just move on? Let me tell you something, my friends. They will notice, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually the silence will get to them, the absence will start to feel real, and suddenly what they once ignored will be all they can think about. Because when something is always there, people assume it always will be. They assume they can take their time, explore other options, leave you on hold while they figure out what they want. But when they realize you're no longer waiting, that's when the panic sets in. It's like oxygen. No one thinks about breathing until they start gasping for air. At first, they'll pretend it doesn't bother them. They'll act like everything's fine, like your absence doesn't affect them. But the longer they go without you, the more they start to feel it. They check their phone, waiting to see if you'll reach out. They scroll through old conversations, rereading messages they once ignored. And the worst part, they don't know if you're gone for good. That uncertainty, that's what drives them crazy. Because here's the hard truth. You don't make someone miss you by staying in their life. You make them miss you by disappearing from it. You don't make them value you by over-explaining your worth. You make them value you by making them feel your absence. And let's be honest, this isn't easy. Everything in you wants to remind them, wants to show them, wants to make them see what they're losing. But let me ask you this. Did they do that for you? Did they fight to keep you? Did they lose sleep wondering how their coldness affected you? No, they just expected you to deal with it. So now it's their turn. And here's where it gets interesting. Because the longer you stay distant, the more their mind starts playing tricks on them. At first, they assume you're just giving them space. Then they start to wonder if something changed. Then the fear creeps in. What if they're moving on? What if they're happier without me? What if I waited too long? And my friends, that's when they realize what they lost, because distance creates desire. Nothing makes someone crave you more than realizing they no longer have access to you. Now say it with me. I am no longer available. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done being taken for granted. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to ensure they never stop thinking about what they lost. Number 4. When they withdraw, you level up. Their distance is a distraction. Your growth is the real focus. They pull away. They act differently. They stop putting in effort. And what do most people do? They panic. They overthink. They sit there replaying every conversation, trying to figure out what went wrong. They waste time waiting, worrying, wondering if they should reach out. But not you. You know the truth. Their withdrawal isn't a loss, it's an opportunity. So folks, imagine this. A storm rolls in, shaking the branches of a tree, bending them, pushing them. It looks like destruction, like the storm might break it. But beneath the ground, the roots are growing deeper, stronger, unshaken. And when the storm finally passes, the tree stands taller than before. That's you. See, when people withdraw, they expect you to collapse. They assume you'll be too focused on them to focus on yourself. And that's exactly why their distance is a test, not of how much you care, but of how much you've grown. Because the real mistake isn't that they pulled away. The real mistake is thinking you needed them. And I know what you're thinking, but what if I just wait a little longer? What if they come back? My friends, why would you pause your life for someone who hit the brakes on you? Why would you sit in uncertainty when you could be using this time to level up, to build, to evolve into the kind of person they never saw coming? See, here's what happens when you shift your focus. At first, they think you're sitting there wondering, hoping, waiting. But then they start to notice something different. They see you glowing, moving differently, becoming someone they no longer have access to. And that's when it hits them. They didn't just lose you, they lost the chance to know the person you're becoming. That's the power of leveling up. Because let me tell you something, growth is revenge without anger. You don't have to get back at them. You don't have to prove a point. You don't have to say a single word. Your evolution speaks for itself. And let's be real, this isn't easy. It's hard to pull your focus away from someone who once mattered. It's hard to resist the urge to check up on them, to wonder if they miss you, to hold back from proving your worth. Because deep down, you want them to realize, you want them to regret. But let me ask you this. Did they stop and think about how their actions made you feel? Did they lose sleep over the way they pulled away? No, they just assumed you'd stay the same, waiting, stuck in the same place they left you. But you are not the same. Because instead of chasing, you are building. Instead of waiting, you are growing. Instead of proving, you are moving forward with such undeniable power that by the time they look back, you'll be unrecognizable. And that's when the tables turn. Because now they're not just missing the old you, they're realizing they'll never get to know the person you've become. And let me tell you something, my friends. Nothing haunts a person more than knowing they lost someone who kept leveling up. So this is your time, not to wait, not to wonder, but to become. Work on yourself, hit the gym, learn something new, build something that excites you. Shift your energy so completely that when they come back looking for the old version of you, they won't find them. Now say it with me. I am leveling up. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done waiting, done wondering, done overthinking. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to ensure they never stop thinking about what they lost. Number 5. The more you ignore, the more they notice. Nothing haunts a person more than realizing they no longer have an effect on you. At first, they don't care. They act cold. They pull away, thinking you'll react, thinking you'll chase, thinking they have control over how you feel. They assume they can come and go as they please, that your emotions are something they can manipulate, that no matter what they do, you'll always be there, waiting, hoping, proving. But then you do something they never expected. You go silent. You stop chasing. You disappear. And that's when everything changes. So folks, imagine this. You have a pen on your desk. It's always there, always within reach. You never think about it, never appreciate it, until one day, it's gone. Suddenly, You're turning your room upside down, searching every drawer, retracing every step. It wasn't important before, but now that you can't find it, it's all you can think about. That's exactly how people work. They don't notice presence, they notice absence. See, when you ignore someone who expected you to react, you do something that psychologically messes with them. You take away their power. They don't get the satisfaction of knowing you're hurt. They don't get the validation of your reaction. And most importantly, they don't get proof that they still matter to you. And I know what you're thinking. But what if they really don't care? What if my silence means nothing to them? Let me tell you something. They will care. Because people don't regret losing what cries for them. They regret losing what stops caring. They don't miss the one who explains their worth. They miss the one who lets them figure it out on their own. At first, they'll pretend they don't notice. They'll stay silent too, acting like they don't care. But over time, the thoughts start creeping in. Why haven't they reached out? Did I miscalculate? Are they really done? And that's when the obsession begins. They check their phone, waiting for your name to pop up. They go through your old messages, rereading the ones they once ignored. They scroll through your social media, hoping to see something, anything, that tells them you still care. But when they find nothing, that's when the regret starts to settle in. Because here's the truth. The more you ignore, the more they notice. And this isn't just a game, it's human nature. We are wired to crave what feels just out of reach. The second you become unavailable, you become desirable. The second they realize they don't have access to you anymore, they start to panic. Think about it. When was the last time you obsessed over something you could have at any time? Probably never. But when was the last time you thought about someone who went silent, someone who disappeared without explanation? That's the power of ignoring. But here's the part most people fail at. You can't fake this. You can't just ignore them while secretly hoping they notice. You can't just stay silent while checking their profile, waiting for them to make a move. They can sense when it's an act. No, you have to mean it. You have to be so focused on yourself, so deep into your own growth, that when they finally look for you, you're no longer even thinking about them. And let's be honest, this isn't easy. Everything in you wants to check up on them, wants to see if they've noticed, wants to post something just to get a reaction. But let me ask you, when they ignored you, when they pulled away, were they worried about how you felt? No, they just assumed you'd still be there. So now it's their turn. And this is the part that stings the most for them, because the longer they go without a response, the more it eats at them. What was once an ego boost now turns into self-doubt. And eventually they'll break. Maybe it'll start with a weak, "Hey," maybe a comment on an old post, maybe a random reaction to a story. But don't be fooled. They're not reaching out because they suddenly realized your worth. They're reaching out because your silence is destroying them. And you don't bite because you've leveled up. You've shifted your focus. You've realized that anyone who plays games with your emotions isn't someone you want access to. And let me tell you, my friends, nothing is more powerful than a person who cannot be manipulated. Nothing is more attractive than someone who is so confident in their worth that they don't need validation from anyone. Because when they finally realize what they lost, when they finally feel what you felt, when they finally understand that you are no longer available, it will be too late. Now say it with me. I am done reacting. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are no longer controlled by their games. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to ensure they never stop thinking about what they lost. Number 6. Never reward emotional games. Every time you react, you train them to mistreat you. They pull away and you chase. They go silent and you double your effort. They give you less and you try to compensate by giving them more. And every time you do, you teach them that distance equals attention. They're not stupid, they see the pattern. They know exactly what they're doing. They know that all they have to do is act uninterested, and suddenly you'll start proving yourself. Suddenly they become the prize. Suddenly, the one who should be making an effort is sitting back, watching you do all the work. And that's where you lose. So folks, imagine this. You put money into a vending machine. Every time you press a button, out comes your favorite snack. But then one day the machine stops working. You press the button, nothing. You try again, still nothing. Eventually, you stop putting in money, because why would you keep paying for something that gives you nothing in return? That's exactly how people work. They do what gets them results. If pulling away makes you chase, they'll keep doing it. If treating you like an option makes you fight for their attention, they'll keep treating you like an option. If acting distant makes you try harder, they'll keep being distant because they know it works. But what happens when you stop playing? When they pull away and you do nothing? When they go silent and you don't break the silence? When they create distance and instead of closing the gap, you let them walk? That's when the cycle breaks. And I know what you're thinking, but what if they're just scared? What if they're testing me to see if I care? Let me tell you something, my friends. People who truly care about you don't play mind games. They don't manipulate your emotions just to see how much you're willing to take. If someone is constantly testing you, constantly making you question where you stand, constantly making you feel like you have to prove yourself, they don't love you. They love control. And as long as you keep giving them that control, they will never respect you. Because here's the truth. People don't value what they can easily manipulate. Think about it. Do you respect someone who lets you walk all over them? Do you admire someone who has no boundaries, who lets you do whatever you want without consequences? Number respect comes from knowing that a person has standards and won't tolerate less than what they deserve. And that's why you have to stop rewarding emotional games. Because the moment they see that pulling away no longer gets your attention, they panic. The moment they realize that acting cold no longer affects you, they start to wonder if they miscalculated. The moment they feel that you are completely unbothered, that's when they start to feel what you once felt. And let me be clear, this is not about revenge. This is not about playing games back. This is about finally understanding that your energy is not something to be used as a bargaining tool in someone else's game. Because let's be real, this isn't easy. It's hard to fight the urge to reach out, to break the silence, to do something just to feel in control again. But let me ask you, when they pulled away, did they fight for you? Did they make sure you were okay? Did they lose sleep over how their actions affected you? No, they just expected you to deal with it. So now it's their turn. And here's the part that really gets them. They don't expect you to stop playing. They assume you'll always react, always reach out, always try to fix what they break. But when you don't, when you let them sit in the silence they created, that's when the regret starts to build. Because now they don't know where they stand with you. They don't know if you still care. They don't know if they still have control. And that uncertainty, that's what eats at them. So from this moment forward, break the cycle. If they pull away, let them. If they go silent, match their silence. If they act distant, don't close the gap. Stop giving them a reward for bad behavior. Now say it with me. I do not reward disrespect. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done playing their games. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to ensure they never stop thinking about what they lost. Number 7, your detachment becomes their lesson. Stoicism isn't about ignoring emotions. It's about controlling how they affect you. They expected you to react. They expected you to break, to get angry, to chase, to prove yourself. They thought their silence, their distance, their little mind games would shake you, but instead you did something they never saw coming. You detached, you let go, you stopped giving them power over your emotions. And that is the lesson they never expected to learn. So folks, imagine this. You're standing in the ocean. The waves crash against you, pushing, pulling, trying to knock you off balance. But you don't move. You don't fight the waves. You don't let them control you. You just stand still, unshaken. Eventually the waves stop trying. Eventually they lose their power. That's exactly what happens when you practice detachment. See, they want to know they can still affect you. They want to believe that their presence or their absence has some kind of hold on you. But when they realize it doesn't, that's when the regret starts to creep in. Because here's the truth. People only play games when they think they have something to win. They withdraw, they act cold, they create distance because they think it will make you react. But when you don't, when you show no anger, no sadness, no frustration, just pure, unshakable indifference, they realize something painful. They were never in control. And I know what you're thinking, but if I detach, won't they think I never cared? No, my friends, that's the lie you've been conditioned to believe. Detachment doesn't mean you never cared. It means you refuse to let their behavior control you. It means you see them for who they really are, not as someone to chase, not as someone to prove yourself to, but simply as someone who made their choice. And now you're making yours. Because here's what they never expected. You learned to sit with your emotions without acting on them. You learned that your peace is more important than their attention. You learned that your silence is louder than any argument you could ever have. And that's the part that gets to them the most. At first, they'll act like they don't care. They'll pretend your detachment doesn't bother them, but over time, they will feel it. They will notice the energy shift. They will realize that something is missing, the validation, the attention, the control they once had. Because let me tell you something, nothing haunts a person more than knowing they used to have access to you, and now they don't. And let's be real, this isn't easy. Everything in you will want to prove a point, to show them they were wrong, to remind them what they lost. But let me ask you this, when they ignored you, when they played their little games, did they feel the need to explain themselves? No, they just expected you to deal with it. So now it's their turn. But the best part? You don't even have to teach them a lesson. Life will do it for you. Time will do it for you. Your silence will do it for you. And as you continue moving forward, as you continue focusing on yourself, as you continue building a life where they are no longer a thought in your mind, that's when the full weight of their mistake will hit them. Because detachment isn't about punishing them, it's about freeing yourself. And by the time they realize what they lost, you'll be too far ahead to care. Now say it with me, I am untouchable. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done being affected by their games. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to ensure they never stop thinking about what they lost. Number 8. By the time they return, you'll be gone. They thought you'd be waiting, but you've already moved on. At first, they felt nothing. They thought they could pull away, act cold, and you'd still be there, waiting, hoping, proving. They assumed time was on their side, that whenever they wanted, they could just walk back into your life, like nothing happened. But now they realize they miscalculated. So folks, imagine this. They finally decide to knock on your door, expecting you to answer, expecting everything to be the way it was. But when they do, the house is empty, the lights are off. You've already left the building, that's you now. Because by the time they realize what they lost, by the time they send that weak, hey, by the time they try to reopen the door, You won't even care. You've built a life where they no longer exist. Now say it with me. I have moved on. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done waiting. So folks, listen. You don't teach them with words. You teach them with absence. They wanted control. They wanted you to react. But the way to win: refuse to play, detach, grow, thrive. And when they finally realize, you'll be too far ahead to notice. Before you go, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I will see you in the next video.